Welcome back to part 2, section 2 of our Sketchup and VA tutorial series. I know it's been a long series and I'm basically trying to cover everything from modeling to texturing to UVW mapping to lighting and eventually the final render. I'm trying to create videos for everyone and not just intermediates or professionals or someone who is trying to just use V-Ray. So I'm just trying to cover SketchUp and V-Ray both together. Hope I'm doing that well so far. And also thank you for all the love that you've shown by subscribing to my channel and liking my videos and sharing them. Thank you for that. Stay tuned, follow along this video. This is a very important video. It's going to be about lighting. So yeah, follow along the entire video and you should be able to light up your interior scenes professionally. Thank you. So what have we here? So if you have been following along my tutorial series, very good. And all I'd like to say is that this is probably the most important section of part 2, or maybe the most important part of your entire kitchen modeling tutorial series, because this is where you will learn how to put in lights, the artificial lights, be it plain lights or your IES or spotlights, and your environment lights, how you can manipulate the artificial lights in order to achieve the realism I did for my render. So follow along carefully, do not miss any part of the video for this one, and you should be able to have it ready by the end of this video. Thank you. So first things first, we are going to place some lights, and if you look at the picture carefully, we have a few plain lights, 3 spotlights, and a reflection of another light probably coming from a window behind. So yeah, so let's get into it then. In order to place lights in SketchUp, I've already placed them for you, but I'm just going to delete them and show you how you can place lights in SketchUp using V-Ray. So if you look up on your toolbar, on your V-Ray toolbar, you have plain rectangular lights, which is plain light as well, sphere lights, spotlights, IES lights. IES lights are custom IES lights which you can load over here in SketchUp. And then you've got Omni lights, and you've of course got the dome light. So I'm quite interested in the plain light for the moment, as we need some lights underneath us for the picture. So click on plain lights and you should have some plain lights actually hovering on your cursor. So click on that. Wait, let me just switch on my keylogger. So you can see that now. So if you hold shift and if you left click on that, and if you just move on either of the surfaces, you see that the light face, the direction of the light changes if you hold shift. Yeah, I'm quite happy over there. So left click again on that. Sorry, it just got deleted. So yeah, hold shift, that there. Now get out of there, select that, move that a little bit over there. Yeah, I'm quite happy over there. Now let's just copy that quickly to the other side. Yeah, let's leave it there. And another thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that in case if you, whilst modeling, sometimes the ceilings can be distracting. You can actually place sections in SketchUp. So in order to place sections, you've got a sections tab. You can switch that on through the section option over here. So you'll have a section tab in SketchUp switched on, so you can just place your own sections whichever surface you like to. So currently I'm working on the roof, so I'm going to place a section. I actually have a section already placed there, so I'm just going to show you on another surface. So if I click on that, you can name your sections the way you like it, give it a symbol, and click on OK, and you will have your sections ready. So if you click on the section, it'll get highlighted with blue color, and then click on M, and you can actually move your section in order to work freely on SketchUp. So that comes quite handy actually, depending on the situation you're working on. So I'm just currently going to delete that section and click on that section and make it active. So if you right click on your section and click on active cut, it'll actually cut out the top part and will help you work. And in order to switch off the section bit, you can just click on this button over here. You click on that and it switches off. So I'm just going to hold my light over here and rotate that by 90 degrees. Yeah, and then snap it there. Snap it there. Yeah, that looks good to me. So now all we have to do is check it out the way it looks. So in order to do that, let's just switch off the section bit. You can switch it off by this. So basically, if you have a section, and you can actually switch on and switch off that thing from there. So let's check out my current situation, actually how my render looks like. So in order to do that, you have to go into V-Ray Asset Editor, go to Settings, and switch on the interactive render. You can go with your CPU. I've got a graphics card, so I generally use CUDA, and then go to camera or render output, sorry, and make the size as 500 for now. We're not going to render in 3K for, we're just checking our file at the moment. So yeah, and then click on that. It should pull out the interactive render. If you look at the interactive render, the lights look quite, you cannot see anything properly at all. So if you go to your camera view, you'll see that there's nothing there almost. So how do you fix that? See, if you go to the light section, and I've already got a few lights placed over here actually. So yeah, I deleted all my previous lights which I already had in my scene in order to show you what it will actually look like when you switch on the interactive render. And in order to switch on the interactive render, if you click on that button there, yeah, that's what it'll first of all, that's what it'll look like, to be honest, in the beginning. If you bring that in the middle of the screen, see, that's what it'll look like. So if you go into my camera view, so that's what you'll actually see in the camera view. And in order to change your camera view, you can go into settings. We can actually switch on safe frame. Safe frame is basically a feature in your camera which actually creates a boundary around your scene, which actually gives you what you'll actually render. So something outside that boundary will not render. So that's the advantage of safe frame. So let's pull out the interactive render. If you see that, we've got sunlight coming in and no lights inside. So I deleted all the lights. I'm just going to quickly do the lights, those two plain lights. So yeah, now that I have my plain lights placed correctly, so in case if you're having trouble placing the plain lights, place them just slightly below the upper cabinets, because sometimes you might not have your lights coming downwards. It might go inside the cabinet and you might be wondering why did that happen. So always place your, if you face that kind of problem, place your lights a little lower than the cabinet height itself, which should not affect the final render actually. So that's how I did that. I was having that problem, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And also for those of you who could not manage the camera view, I actually placed my camera at a certain distance where I could see the entire thing, and then with the help of V-Ray settings in Asset Editor, under render output, I went to portrait. I selected portrait and I switched on the safe frame and then adjusted my camera to make it suit the final picture, whatever the picture requires, something close to the final picture, something close to the actually reference picture, not the final output, the reference picture, sorry. So yeah, so I have my plain lights and my camera setup ready for the moment, but I still got spotlights and another light source which needs to come inside the room to light up the room. So let's just check out the interactive render first, what it looks like. So if you click on this, just like how I said, you can click on this is also interactive render button over here. So if you click on that, and you can see in the interactive render that there's sunlight coming in, but it's not the exact thing that I want. That's not how the reference picture looks like, does it? So in order to get that, you should have your interactive render, or for those of you who do not have the ability of interactive render, you can just follow my steps or learn from experience. That's what I did previously, but nowadays since I've got a new machine now with GPU, with a better GPU card, I use the interactive render, which is very helpful in V-Ray. So click on the asset editor, go to settings, Yeah, so you have kept that on high. You can probably leave it on medium. You don't need to set your interactive render to high. It's just going to take some more time and a waste. It's just a waste of memory basically, because you're just checking your file over here. So go to the lights tab, and you should see a rectangle light and a sunlight. So the rectangle light is that plain light that you placed under the upper cabinets, and that's the value for that is only 30. Increase that value to about 5000 and see what happens. You see, so that's the value we're looking for. By the way, the lights are instanced because I copied them directly in the SketchUp. So if you place another new light using the rectangle light button up here, they'll be just copies of lights, and they will not have each other's material properties, light properties. So if you want your lights to be instanced, basically have the same properties, you should copy and paste them in SketchUp so that you'll have one single light value over here to deal with. So yeah, so let's get into it then. So 5000 is a bit too much. I'm probably going to go for 500 and see for the moment. Yeah, that looks quite nice to my eye. And the color, I'm just going to switch that to a little warm yellow. Yeah, something there, something like that should do it. And turn that value down to 300 and see. Yeah, probably a little lower. Yeah, 250 looks fine for the moment. Okay, anyway, we'll get back to that eventually in the end. So yeah, let's take care of the sunlight. So if you switch off the sunlight, what happens? If you don't switch off the entire environment, because there is an environment outside, so you cannot just switch it off. All you can do is reduce the environment light value. So the sunlight value, put it as 0.01 for the moment, and the entire room goes dark. So let's start putting on the other lights, and the room should be lit up with the help of the other lights. So let's start doing this. So switch off the interactive render for now and cross that. The other light that I'm going to put in over here is spotlights. So click on that spotlight, and again you're getting an option over here actually whilst you're switching on the spotlight button. So you can just snap that there in the middle of that, just click there, and you should have that spotlight there. So I'm just going to hold that spotlight, M, control, copy that there, and then again control, copy that there. So now that I have my spotlights, go back to your camera view again and switch on your interactive render. Once again, nothing has changed. Why? So you go to your video asset editor, change that to 10,000. I'm just guessing. Yeah, something is coming up, something is showing up. So, and now we have to fix the light sharpness. So in order to do that, you can increase this penumbra angle, which basically makes the spotlight softer, and you can reduce the cone angle, which will make the light even softer. There you go. It gets softer every time you do that. So for now I'm just going to leave that to 12,000 to light the room. Yeah, that looks fine for now to me. So now we still have to light up the room as it's not lit up enough yet. In order to do that, switch off the interactive render again, close that. Now you're going to place another plain light in order to light up the room and replicate the shadow, the reflection that I was talking about, which is this. So let's do that. So click on plain light again, just draw random plain light, select that, push that up there, rotate that. S is for scaling, so I'm just going to scale that to about there. If you hold that and scale that to about there. M again, bring that somewhere there, push that back and rotate it very slightly, somewhere there. Yeah, Now let's look at the interactive render, what it looks like. So go back to your camera view again and switch on the interactive render. Still nothing has changed yet. Alright, let's go to the asset editor, and so that's the value that I'm after. So set that to 500 and see what happens. So you see, you already immediately see the change happening. So I'm just going to increase that value. So you already have a reflection there. Increase that value to 1000. So it's slowly getting there. But again, if you look at the picture, the light actually shines on this area and not the entire room. So in order to do that, you can switch off your environmental lights if you'd like, but in order to do that exact shadow thing, you will have to direct your light. So basically your light needs to be directed, right? The switch off the interactive, actually switch on the interactive render again. I'm actually getting confused now. Okay, anyway, and you have something under plane lights, you have something that's called directionality. So the moment you pull that slider up, you will see that the light changes its direction, particularly. So if I pull it down there, so it actually follows. You can see it in the interactive render as well, that it actually follows a direction. So set that to somewhere around 0.5. Yeah, and then switch off the interactive render, close that. Click on M, select that light, click on M. That's more like it. So yeah, you go ahead and give it a try, adjust your lights, and I'll get back to you with my lights adjusted and the entire scene adjusted. I'm not going to place any more extra lights. The lights that I've already placed, they're the ones that's going to be there. I'm just going to adjust the entire scene, which is going to take some time actually. So I'm not going to waste time showing you that for the moment, which can get boring. So adjust your own lights, and in case if you have not or unable to adjust your own lights, I'll just show you my light settings, the values that I use for my lights, and of course you have my material settings already. So yes, I successfully managed to get a hold of my lights and place them in the right place, and my scene is almost ready for the final render. So the final render will be in the next part, where I'm going to show you what the adjustments that I made. But for now, just have a look at the light settings that I use. So I have my interactive render on at the moment. So let me just walk you through my light settings, the settings that I use in order to get this lighting ambience over here. So yeah, I'm just going to stop the interactive render from here, and you can actually start and stop the interactive render from here. So this is the play button, and that's the stop button. So that's abort rendering and the start interactive render button there. I'm just going to close that and switch on V-Ray Asset Editor again, and I'm going to thoroughly show you the lights that I used. And of course I used copies of lights instead of instanced lights because I had to adjust everything. So for the select objects in scene, right click and select object in scene. For the outer light source, I used a value of 250, and these are the values, the directionality values. You can see it all from here. You can copy it down, or I'll just leave the model down in the description below anyway, but you can have a look at it and give it a try directly from here. For the other lights, for the warm lights, I used a value of 400. I actually slightly rotated my lights in order to match the original picture. So I used a value of 400, and these are my, again, directionality values and my sizes. The light U and V, basically X and Y sizes, dimension of my light. You can copy them down. Then for the spotlight, the first spotlight, the one on the left, I used a value of 50,000 because whatever is soothing to my eye, and these are my other values. My penumbra angle and my cone angle is as per that. For the second spotlight, I used a value of 35,000, and these are my values here. And for the last spotlight, I used a value of 8,000 in order to get hold of that ever slight shadow on the wood wall over there. Yeah. So, and for my sunlight, of course, I set it down to 0.01, which I do not need actually. I'm not using the environment, so I just set it down to 0.01. And So if I click on the interactive render, this is what it gives you over here. So this is how I set it up, and let me show you in my scene how I have set up my lights over here. So eventually I rotated my rectangular light to about here to match the original picture. So this is my rectangular, this is the size I actually went with, and I put it outside, just ever so slightly inside the room. And these lights, they should be looking like this in your model. So these are the lights I basically use for the entire model and nothing else actually, to be honest. So if I go back to my camera view and click on the interactive render, so this is your complete lighting tutorial. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, hope you learned something from this tutorial. Go give it a try, and thank you for joining in this video and supporting my channel. It was a huge response I got from the other 2 videos. Thank you for sharing them, thank you for being there. Also let me know in the comments below what you'd like, what more you expect from me, and what more I could do for you. Thank you. Also join in for the next part, which is another important part. It's actually not a part, it's actually section 3 I believe of part 2, where I'll show you the final render settings, final material settings. You obviously have your materials done already, so it's going to be final render settings, post-processing, and then Photoshop of course. So that'll be your final image, and in the next section actually you should be able to create photorealistic images after that. So yeah, click on the video that's going to pop up in the middle and watch that video to learn how to create realistic renders. Thank you for once again for watching my videos.